Hello, I'm Rodrigo, and I'm here with Arlene, and we are going to talk about her involvement with Aileen and all the things that transpired there. Now, Arlene and I met because I have been doing some reporting on the Ramp, which is a school and a church that I used to attend. And so, just to be honest with you guys, I was not very aware of this um, case of Eileen, and I didn't have a lot of, I didn't know anything about it until I met Arlene on Facebook, and she wanted to do this podcast. And so, I'm not very familiar with the story, and I believe that this is Arlene's first time telling the story from her own mouth about what actually happened. And so we're just going to give her the time and the opportunity to do so. This might be a long video, but please stay till the end and watch the entire thing because I believe that God has a purpose for this video and God is going to show us all something through her life and through what she experienced. So, Arlene, can you please tell us how it is that this all started? How did you actually even get to meet this woman?
Well, it started with my dad, who was in Florida. My husband was traveling all the time. We had just gotten a farm, and my dad was staying with me there. And he had a massive heart attack and had to have quad bypass surgery after just a month from moving. So I was in ICU. My husband flew home, and I never read a paper. Being a Christian, I kept telling my dad, I know how it ends. Jesus is going to come. People say I'm retarded, but that was my thing 36 years ago, and never watched the news, never picked up a paper. So there we are, stuck in ICU. I was literally stuck in the waiting room because I passed out when I went in to see my dad, and they brought me to with smelling salts, and I wasn't allowed in. So there I am sitting outside, and Robert would go in each allotted time. I read every Reader's Digest in the hospital, every one, and my husband very sarcastically said, "Look, it won't kill you to read a newspaper. Your father's right. You should at least know what's going on in the world, period. I'm not getting you another Reader's Digest." So God has a sense of humor, really has, because, wow, I picked up my first paper, and there on the cover was Lee's picture. She had just been arrested. And
Wow. So let me just ask you a question here. You had never read a newspaper before.
30
And
years ago, no, never, not.
the first newspaper that you pick up is this woman who is a serial killer. And you
Yes,
see her on the front page.
yes,
And this is the first time you ever even hear about her.
yes, she was just arrested.
So you're already a Christian, right? By
Yes.
this point. So can you just let us know, just back up a little bit and tell us how exactly did you become a Christian?
Oh, that's awesome. This is a funny story. My husband won't like this, but oh well. It was 56 years ago. Robert was a Christian. He was Baptist, but he wasn't one of those evangelicals that would, and real excited about his faith, pumped up. He was just Robert. And he went to the youth group, did all those things. And we're driving around the Macy's parking lot. And he said, "My mom doesn't want me to date you anymore because you're not a Christian." And so I took out my cross off my neck and I said, "What's this, a mezuzah with handlebars? What do you mean I'm not a Christian?" And so, yeah, it was really a little bit argumentative, but I was left with, what is he talking about? And so my mom got me for Christmas Billy Graham's book, Peace with God, and in my stocking, which was very odd. And that started my whole journey. It's been 56 years this past Easter. So that's how I became a Christian. Of course, I made lots of mistakes over the years, but never walked away from him, not once.
So by the time you picked up the newspaper, how long had you been a Christian?
Well, it's 36 years, so take 36 years from 56. 20. I'd been saved 20 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So that's a long time to be saved.
it was, but I was very judgmental on one thing, and I don't know why. I grew up in New York. That could be part of it. Lots of crime. I mean, even back then. And so I was very judgmental and felt everybody in prison or in jail was totally evil, really evil. And so at churches, I would never volunteer for that. I volunteered for hospital and nursing homes being my favorite. Never would do the jails. So that's why when I saw this picture of Lee on the very first newspaper I ever picked up, I was so drawn to this picture. And I left ICU. He was in a regular room. Once I went home, but we were getting the paper because of my dad every day. So I'm reading the paper every day, cutting out the articles, drawn to this person. No clue why. I mean, here's this judgmental Christian drawn. So I was out mowing, and the Lord spoke to me as audible as I've ever heard. And he gave me the verse. It's a bit like I'm giving it you short version, so it's people are going to say, oh, she took it out of context, but I don't know how to get the whole verse in. So it was basically the watchman in the book of Ezekiel. I have set thee as a watchman on the tower. If you see a man in his sin and you warn him, then that man will not die in his sin, and his blood I will not require at your hand. But if you're on the tower and you see a man sinning and you do not warn him, he will die in his sin, but his blood I will require at your hand. Oh, that just was soccer punch to me. I've always passionately loved Jesus, so that got me. I turned off the mower, out of my mouth, 36 years, I'll never forget it. Fine, fine, fine. I was angry, upset. Like, how could you ask me to do this? You know, I don't do this. And stomped up to the house like a little spoiled brat. And all we'd only moved there short time, like a month to 5 weeks. And the only thing that was in the kitchen was a little radio that I had Joy FM Christian station on for the music. I walk in the door. You will never believe what was on the radio. Chuck Colson's prison ministry. I was like, what? So I got a pencil, got a paper, sat down. When it was over, they gave the phone number. I called them, and they were unbelievable. I told them everything that was going on and how judgmental I was. They, of course, told me that as a Christian, that isn't right. That's not of God. But once they got done the counseling, then they said, if this is of God, if you write this letter and it's of God, something beautiful will happen. And if it's not, it will fall apart. We strongly advise you to write the letter. So
Okay.
I had a piece about it. And
That's Let me just interject here so that people understand. Arlene is already 22 years into her walk with Jesus. And she has this sort of prejudice towards people who are in jail, thinking that they're absolutely evil. She picks up a newspaper for the first time. She sees probably one of the worst people, right, in everyone's mind, one of
yeah,
the worst people that you could possibly see, a woman who has committed murder 7 times. And so she starts collecting newspaper clippings of this story, and then she hears God. Okay. She's not unseasoned with the Lord. She's already 22 years into her walk, and she hears God, and then she gets a confirmation when she walks into her house. The confirmation being the radio talking about prison ministry. And not only does she hear that confirmation, but she doesn't go at it by herself. She doesn't say, okay, well, God is telling me this. I'm just going to go do it. What
Exactly.
what she does is she goes through that ministry to get and hear a voice of somebody and people who are already doing this and get some counsel. And when she does, this is what they tell her. They tell her, hey, if this is from God, it's going to bear good fruit. If this is from God, something's going to happen. And she feels a peace about it. And that's why she goes forward with what she's doing. So here, I want everyone to see the steps that have taken place. It's not that Aileen all of a sudden just had this random idea and just went for it. It
Yeah.
was a process that she walked through with God to be able to do this. So once you feel the peace, right? You write the letter, and then what happens?
I wrote the letter that night. I didn't tell my dad anything. I told nobody. This was just between the Lord and I. I wrote the letter that evening, and I addressed it to the Volusia County Jail, which is down in Daytona. And picture this part, which it's so God what he did. We'd only been there, as I told you, a month to 5-6 weeks. I get lost going in a circle. So when I'm ready, walking out the door, I hired this. This is so fun. I hired 2 people that I knew. They were not Christians, but they were nice. They were acquaintances to stay with my dad because I couldn't just leave him. And as I'm getting into the car, they're in this house with my dad, and the Holy Spirit says, no, you're not going to your little town post office. You're going to Daytona. The letter needs to be mailed from Daytona, an hour and a half from the farm. I'm like, what? What? I'm going to get lost. And all he said, 2 words, trust me. So I took a deep breath and said, like I have a choice. And I just put the car in gear and off I went. The miracle, I'm passing the big speedway, the Daytona, where the Daytona 500 is. I'm like, I actually made it here. And then the joke was I saw a big flagpole. That was the post office. It was uncanny. So I mailed the letter. And when I mailed the letter, I don't know how to describe it. It was like before I was saved, when way back when I would drink just like any normal person. And this thing, like I had 4 cocktails came over me, like I was higher than a kite, this warm, fuzzy feeling all over as soon as I put it in the mail. And I'm like, wow, now I know this is you. I just felt him all over me, just all over me. So this is hysterical. When I get home, I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my daddy. So the couple come out. They saw the car pulling up the driveway. They come out. Remember, they're not saved. They were furious, just totally furious, and said, how could you go out and do drugs to get away, and you didn't bring anything back for us? And I'm like, do drugs? What are you talking about? And it's like, you are so glowing. That's the word they use, glowing, right? And it's just like unbelievable. So I said, look, I didn't do that. And I couldn't tell them what I actually did, right? Because I didn't want anybody to know. Carrie, tell Robert to be quiet, please. I don't want Robert to come through. So it was uncanny. I'm like, well, I'm sorry you feel like that. And they said, we're never coming here again. And I said, okay. And I looked in the mirror when I went in the house. I didn't look different. But the next day, I went to the pharmacy where my Christian friend worked at the photo shop. And it was incredible because she looked at me. She was the only one that I had told, only one. because she was my Christian sister that I trusted. In a month, the only one I made. And she went, "You mailed the letter." I'm like, "How do you know?" She said, "Girl, did you look in the mirror? You're lit up like a Christmas tree." I'm like, "What?" "No, I looked in the mirror last night. I don't see anything." She said, "You're glowing like a Christmas tree." And it lasted a week. A week. Can you imagine?
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
it
So
was it was cool that the next night, Lee calls. This was unbelievable. My dad knew. My dad was the most brilliant man. I'm prejudiced, but my Italian daddy, and he was my world. A Christian, so I'll see him again someday. But he was furious because, the phone, it's a collect call. And I said, "Yes, I will." And he knew that I was looking at pictures. He did not know about the letter, but he added two and two. He started ranting and raving, screaming at me, and said he was going to disown me. Lee is on the phone and says, "I am so sorry. I'll just hang up. I didn't mean to cause this." I'm like, "No, don't worry. It's okay. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll calm him down, but you have to promise you'll call back." She didn't want to. She felt a serial killer picture. She felt genuinely horrible about how my dad had just reacted. And so that was it. She hung up and I went in and he was laying in his bed like a man in a coffin with his hands up here. And he said, "Tomorrow I'm going to disown you." And I said, "That's okay. You can do that. But you are not the one that is going to welcome me into heaven and be standing there. That will be Jesus. And it is he I have to follow." I am crying because he was my hero. And I said, "I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, but I have to follow him." I said, "He's first." And I closed the door and just sobbed and sobbed. And when Lee called back, she's the one that calmed me down and was just so kind. And then that was our first conversation. And a lot happened. A lot happened during just that first talk. But what she told me that so made all the pieces fit together like a glove was when she had gotten there 2 days prior, when the Lord got me on the lawnmower. She told him, "If you don't send a Christian woman into my life, I am going to kill myself." And that's why he wanted the letter mailed from Daytona, because she got it the very next day. And that's
mm,
called and told me. So, I mean, everything.
wow.
And to think, 36 years later, people are all over the internet. 36 years this has gone on. And people are saying, "Oh, she sold Lee. She did this. She did that." It's like nobody knows the real story. Nobody. It's yeah, unbelievable.
But this is amazing. So what you're saying is that she told you that she wanted to commit suicide and that she was basically done, and she asked God. It was her cry out to the Lord
Absolutely.
saying, "God, you have to send somebody." And while you were mowing the lawn, God spoke to you and he said, "You have to do this thing." And then
Absolutely.
the thing on top of that is that if you had mailed it from your own post office, it wouldn't have gotten there on time, and
No,
she could
killed her.
have done something to herself.
She would have. She was so serious. She was so depressed. She was depressed because you know who her lawyers were? They were men that were trying to make a movie over this whole thing. As soon as they met her, all they saw were dollar signs. So she was crying and crying. Our first conversation, it was like 2 hours long, and she was crying about the lawyers. What help am I even going to get? They want to talk about a movie. I don't want this. So I calmed her down and I said, "I will call the judge in the morning." I've never done anything like this, but the Lord just took me step by step. It's like, how? And he's like, "Look up the name in the phone book." This was before iPhones and Google and all that. "Look up the judge's name and call the chambers. I'm like, okay. By now there was no fear because I knew he was in it. So I didn't do
Yeah.
anything without asking, how do I do this? How do I do this? So the judge, Judge Grasso, she was wonderful to me. And she pulled those three lawyers and gave Lee a wonderful public defender in Ocala because several of the murders happened in Ocala. And it was just, it was amazing. It was just, it was so how he took you step by step by step. And
Yeah.
then,
Well, it seems like God was in it, obviously, because from the beginning, you're mowing the lawn, you hear God. Then that's confirmed when she calls you saying, that same day, I told this to God. So you were the answer to prayer. Then you walk in, the radio, you call the radio people. They tell you, hey, if God's doing this, then he's going to tell you it's going to have good fruit. Then you go, God tells you, mail the letter over there because it's not going to get there in time. You find out afterwards when she calls you on the phone. And then when you do mail the letter, you feel the presence of God
oh, so
and
much.
people see it in you,
And
right? They
you
say,
get the
you're
big
on
on
drugs,
drugs. Yeah,
just like the disciples, like, hey, you're drunk.
that's it.
They,
That's exactly it. You hit it. That's exactly
yeah.
it. Yeah,
So they see it on you, and you walk with this presence of God. God is strengthening you for what's coming for a whole week. His presence is on you, and then you get the phone call, and then everything is confirmed on that phone call. And
yes.
then now you have all this strength, and God is guiding you in what to do next.
It,
That's amazing.
it was. My dad stayed angry for about 3 days. He didn't talk to me. When the phone would ring, he knew who it would be, and he went alone into his bedroom. And I mean, he didn't talk to me. We used to take walks on the farm with the dog. He loved King Man. And he would feed the horses with me. I've got beautiful pictures I can show you at another time. Just, it was an amazing experience with my dad on the farm with me until this. And I thought it was going to destroy our relationship forever. But I went to Barbara, who had a son named Tommy, and they came. My daddy loved them, and he loved Tommy. And Barbara was a crack up. I mean, a beautiful Christian, but well, like you, easy to laughter, just bubbly. And so I said, can you help me? This is the fourth day. My dad's not talking to me. She said, we'll come over tomorrow night. I'll bring dinner. You go down to the barn and do chores late and just leave us alone with your dad. Well, I came back. He was a different man. He was really nice. And 2 days later, somebody came from our old church. But we never went. I just went alone a couple times. But this woman met me. She was, I guess, what you would call in the church a gossip, just the gossip who spread everything all over the place. And oh my goodness, what a woman. I was gone. I was getting horse food and stuff. And she comes to see my dad and said, how could you let your daughter do this? This is disgraceful, and on and on and on. And my dad says to her, gosh, my Bible says visit those in prison. What's wrong with this? Can you imagine in 4 days the transformation that the Holy Spirit did on my father? It,
That's
it,
amazing.
it was
That
unbelievable. And then the local paper, the Ocala Star Banner, we were probably on the front page 3, 4 times a week at least, because this was such a huge thing. And so her name, Trish Jenkins, she was amazing. And her, Jose, the private investigator, they made an appointment and came to see my dad and I because who's ever heard of this? They wanted to make sure that we were real, that I was real, Robert was real. So they came, and wow, it was an awesome time of being able to witness to them. And God so used it. You just can't imagine. So that was how it all started. And then, oh, yeah,
it's a miraculous story. It's God all over it. God even restored your relationship with your father.
yes,
Just and your dad is now defended you in front of somebody else. That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
That's amazing. So
It was
You
amazing.
you start building this relationship with her, and what happens? How do you get from just being friends who, talk on the phone, to being her mother, adopted mother?
Well, we got very close over the phone. I mean, she shared with me stuff about her childhood that was beyond, just absolutely beyond. Her mother abandoned her and her brother Keith, who later died, in an attic, and the grandmother found them covered with flies, if you can imagine. And so her grandma took her in, which was a good thing, but the grandfather was a very evil man, and he would beat the kids. She had a terrible, terrible childhood, just bad. So she shared all this, and we're getting closer and closer. And the only bad thing I did, and I admit this, poor Trish, she was the best lawyer and she had so much patience. I took in junior college, I took 2 years of law and just thought, oh, it would be good to become a prosecuting attorney. Again, they're evil, back to that thing. And I pestered Trish. I went, I have this clue. Somebody called me, and oh, I was in her office. That woman had the patience of a saint, just the patience of a saint. So that was a big mistake I made. I was immature. I had never done anything like this. And yeah, it was unbelievable. But as we got, I don't remember if it was before trial or after. It was after the first trial. I could have visitation. Only you could have visitation if you were family. So I talked to Trish, and she said, you can, there's a way around this. You can adopt her. And I'm like, adopt her? Really? And she said, yeah, if your husband will go along with it, you can adopt her. So she gave us Steve Glazier's phone number. That's how we first met Steve Glazier. And he handled the adoption. And it was the most awesome experience. We were upstairs in the Bronson courthouse, and the judge who signed the papers, he asked us both, are you sure you want to do this? And he was a Christian. God had it all the way. And we told him yes, and he signed the papers. And then he came and hugged both of us and said, bless you. This is the most amazing display of Christianity I have ever seen. So that was fabulous, and for both of us. But then Robert, he works in video. He worked for Sony. He worked at Benny Hinn Ministries. He helped out at Trinity Broadcasting. So Robert, he's always behind the cameras. We walk out. I just knew Steve. I knew this was going to happen. What lawyer wouldn't do this for publicity, right? He called the papers to say what we were doing. So we get outside of the courtroom. I thought Robert was going to die, just die. He turned white. He grabs onto my hand. Did you know about this? And I went, not from any human, but I kind of felt the Holy Spirit warning me, but I decided not to wreck the adoption so you could be happy and excited. So I didn't tell you. And he's squeezing my hand so tight. So Steve and I answered all the questions, and Robert hid behind me. It was really funny. So
So the
anyway,
reason that you adopted her was just so that you could go and see her, because
yes,
otherwise you would not be able to go see her. So
exactly.
the motive behind it was, still, you want to be there for this person who everybody's against. Obviously, everybody thinks that she is an awful, awful, awful person, and of course, what she did was very bad. But you got put, pick the person who also thought the same thing, change your heart towards her so that you could love her, and that you want to go see her, but you can't because
Exactly.
they don't allow you to go in there. And so your motive behind actually adopting her isn't all this publicity, right? Like, that's what you're saying. That
Oh,
even your husband is like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be on camera. Like
No, I
this.
hated publicity, and I hated, they all said, oh, she loved being on the front page of the papers. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. The
But
whole motive was to just see her so we could
yeah,
see each other.
but because this is such a notable thing that's happening, this case is something that everybody obviously wants a piece of. Then you get caught up in all this thing of being in the newspaper and people saying all this stuff. But
Yes,
you're saying that your motive was simply, I need to be there with her face to face,
yes,
see her,
yes,
and see what God wants to do with this
yes,
relationship.
yes. And Trish, after it happened, and we were able, it was before the adoption, but at the hearings and stuff where Lee would be, I went to everything. And this was pre-trial. She would be freaking out in the back, and Trish would come get me and say, could you come back and talk to her? And so I, lawyer privilege, I went with her, and she stood there with me, and I put my hands through, they have that thing where you can touch each other, and she would calm down. I would pray with her, and she would calm down. And Trish came to say, you have Valium in your hands. I can't believe the difference. So that's why she was so much for contact visitation, because once trial came along, it would be very, very necessary.
Yeah, yeah. So the lawyer's telling you that she sees the way that you guys interact and
Yes,
says it's a good thing, and that's why
yes,
she she was also the one saying, "Hey, you need to be there."
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Encouraged it. The only thing that made her upset was I tried to do her job for her and help her, which was so stupid. And I look back, that's my biggest regret, because she was a wonderful attorney. And yeah, I was an idiot. I actually went out one night, we had at the farm, and we had a woman flying in from British Columbia. It was just me and Daddy there at the farm. Robert traveled all over. And I picked her up at the bus station in Ocala, Florida. And that day, this is so insane, someone had called me with a tip trying to show Lee's innocence. I'm an idiot. Jesus protected me, is all I can say. So Elizabeth comes in, and of course, she heard about this up in BC, in British Columbia. And I said, hey, want to do something fun before we go home? And she's like, sure, what? I said, I got a tip. People saw things and it could help clear Lee. You want to go with me? It was night. It was 10 o'clock at night. To this gas station. I have the name of the woman. Sure. Oh, that'd be fun. She was crazy like me. So yeah, we went and I got the information. There was no danger. I mean, none. Everything was good. I'm sure the Lord had a hand in that. But when I went to Trish the next day, she was furious and told me never, ever, ever to do a thing like that again, or she would pull visitation from Lee, because she said, you could have got yourself killed. You don't understand. 10 o'clock at night at a gas station? Are you nuts? So, I mean, I'm being as honest. I told you I would be as honest as I could be. I did some pretty dumb things, but I learned as we went.
so when, um, how is your relationship? Do you feel like your relationship was pushing her? Because I've seen some interviews where she said that she was always Christian. Do you believe that she was Christian? Did your relationship push her closer to God?
She wasn't always Christian, no. She would say that. A lot of people think they are because they went to church or they did this. She was never born again. And when I explained that to her, then she understood, whoa, I haven't been Christian at all. I just went to this church and thought, being there all my life, you're saved. But no, she was not at all a Christian. And the one thing, I don't want to miss this because this was a biggie. Jackie Giroux, this was before trial. She was a movie producer from California, and she showed me part of the screen things that she wanted to do. And she included all the truth of the abuse Lee went through. She showed her as Lee. She showed her exactly as the Netflix film from last October did. But Jackie was the only one, other than them this past October, that showed Lee as the real person. And nobody would buy the film because it wasn't sensational enough. But she was at my home, and she and I took my dad. He was all healed. This is unbelievable how it happened. We drove him to the airport, and then she got snacks for us, Italian things, hors d'oeuvres kind of stuff, for us to sit at the house, talk. She wanted me to read what she had already done, and she was going to have a phone conversation with Lee. All that happened, and Jackie is going to leave. She'd already left. And 5 minutes later, she walks back into the house. I'm glad you're sitting down. And she said, Arlene, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have to stay safe. You have to watch your back and stay safe, because if something happens to you, Lee is going to kill herself. And I was like, well, I'm fine. I mean, nothing's going to happen to me. God will protect me. So she just looks at me, and she comes and she hugs me and said, don't take my words lightly. It's just something I feel, and I've never felt like that. And I'm like, what? But I adored Jackie. I trusted her. So did Lee. She gets in her car and leaves. The next day, we were breeding our mayor from California. That was a real witch. And our good friends across the street, the whole neighborhood was behind us with Lee. Nobody was against us. Just the churches, ironically, in Florida. But the neighbors and stuff, no. They were perfect. The one man who loaned us his 2 workers to breed the mare for me, my dad said, if you weren't such a control freak, this never would have happened. You wash the stallion after you breed. And I'm like, oh, I've got to go down there. I feel so sick. I've just still got to go down there and do this. And I went down, and those 2 men knew more in their pinky than I do in my whole body about horses. I never should have gone there, but I did. And the mare had been apparently a real horrible witch to breed. So when they were leading her away, Saint, the stallion, he was such a good boy, he didn't see me. And he thought it was the mare, and he hauled off and got me in the back. I went airborne and then crashed on the ground. And no pain, because shock immediately took over. And Donnie from across the street, that he loaned him to us for the breeding, he comes over and says, what can I do? What can I do? The other guy had both horses put up. And Donnie, I love Donnie. What can I do for you? What can I do? And I said, you can pray for me. Please just pray for me. And Donnie said, this is a quote. He said, I've never prayed before. I said, now would be a hell of a good time to start. And so he did pray. The ambulance came, and I insisted on going to the local hospital because I was going to come home that night. And Donnie's begging me. I know in my heart that's wrong. Something's very wrong. You went airborne. I'm like, nope, I don't want to leave the farm. I'm going to stay close. Well, I did go to that hospital. They ignored me because they didn't realize how damaged I was. And the man next to me coded. So you know that I was just left there, and I was unconscious. They did the blood work and found out I was hemorrhaging. So I wake up and I hear her on the phone. We didn't check her in time. It's been awful here. And she's hemorrhaging. We think we're going to lose her. So we're going to put her on a helicopter and get her. And they were going to take me to Shands. And I go, oh, no. And they go, she's awake. She's talking. And I went, A, I'm not going on no helicopter. And B, you're taking me to the other hospital where the people we bought the farm from, his wife was the head of the neurology department, the heart place, and great friends. So she was just shocked. And I was put, as they wheeled me in, there was a doctor there, and I was screaming in tongues. So the doctor, being a Christian, he knew, whoa. He came over to me and he said, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" I went, "Oh, I'd love it." And in shock, no pain. And so he said, "Do you have a doctor?" I went, "No." He said, "Would you like me to be?"
Oh, we lost the audio. We can't hear you anymore. Oh, there you go.
England. Yeah. So, okay, it went small again, but it'll come back. Um, you can see me okay?
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfect. I just can't see you, but that's all.
Oh, okay.
Does that matter?
No, it's fine. I think everything's working.
Okay, good, perfect. So he became my doctor, and this is only the Lord. He was prepping me for surgery, and the Holy Spirit told him, "No, you cannot do surgery on her. You're to put her in ICU. Can't move. She has to be totally still." I was hemorrhaging badly. "If you do surgery on her, she's going to die." Told the doctor, spirit-filled doctor. And so he came back to me, and picture how this poor doctor feels. I come in there, I'm hemorrhaging, and he's going to just put me in ICU. If I died, Robert could have sued him for wrongful death or something because he did nothing. So the poor guy was so scared. We didn't know each other. And he said, "How do you feel about this?" And I said, "I trust you completely. Whatever you feel, I trust God will use you." And I wasn't real thrilled with surgery anyway. So he put me up there, and this is something, it was like 2 weeks later, because I was in ICU for 2 weeks. So it was just before I got out, and I was in the hospital 2 full months. Lacerated liver, 3 broken ribs. So it was just before I got out of ICU. There was a horrible accident in Nashville with one of the famous country western singers, and same exact injuries as me. And they opened her up, and she died on the operating table. He showed
Wow.
he showed me the article. So I was like, "No, I had trust in you all along. I knew that I would be fine." So anyway, it was just like amazing, just amazing. And
So I've seen a video where you say that God healed you from this injury because of your love for Aileen.
oh, the doctor himself, and he had me go speak. The doctor had me go. He didn't care if they wanted me or not. I was all healed. He took me to his church and he was a big donor, obviously, to the church. And so pastor let him do it. He put me up to give the testimony of all of this and about Lee at the doctor's church. I did speak there, and he took me to the Christian businessmen's breakfast to give this testimony. He felt he did the medical part, but my life and living was because of fighting so much not to leave Lee because of what Jackie Giroux said. And he said all over, if it weren't for Lee and what that woman said, it would be, she wouldn't be with us.
Okay, so
Giroux
let
said,
me just explain this a little bit to the audience, because I feel like this clip of you saying that got taken out of context. And what I'm hearing here is that you're saying that what actually happened is somebody this woman who was doing this movie,
right,
God spoke through her,
yes,
and she told you need to be careful, because if you die, then she will die,
yes, exactly.
because she was in such a bad place, and she was talking about committing suicide. And so you have this horrible accident happen to you. So this is exactly what God was warning you about.
Yes, exactly.
And because you had the warning before and you knew that God was saying, if you go, she'll go, then you fought your best. You
Yes,
within yourself had the determination of saying, I'm going to stay here because I love this person and they need to have the opportunity to fully commit to God so that they have the best opportunity not to go to hell and to go to
exactly.
heaven. And
Exactly.
so
Was it?
that's what you're saying saved your life. What saved your life is actually your determination of saying, God told me this was going to happen, and now it did happen, but I'm going to fight through it so that I can fulfill the mission that God gave me.
Exactly. And the doctor himself, the surgeon, said, I just did the medical part, but she was so bad. She would have died if she didn't have that fight in her. He said that himself at the Christian businessmen's breakfast that he asked me to be a guest at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So even the doctor admitted that the reason why you pulled through was because of your determination.
Absolutely. Because of Lee. Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? The hospital, they let her call every single day, collect. Not in ICU. ICU, I was gone. I mean, the 2 weeks there is a dull memory. I was so sedated. But when I got transferred to a private room, then they let collect calls, one collect call a day, come through from Lee. Can you imagine the hospital did that?
Wow, that's amazing. That was totally God because God knew that
Yeah,
she needed it and you needed also to know, hey, I this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm fighting.
yes, yes.
Yes, amen. And I've seen her do an interview where she said that you you and the lawyer told her that she should commit suicide.
Oh,
But
no.
you've it sounds your story sounds like you've done so much to stop her from doing that. Why do you think she
Absolutely.
said that?
Yeah, no. There were times where after she got on death row, she was so despondent because she did not want to go through the 10-year wait. She admitted complete guilt and she said, what's the point? And I see it. She said, why should taxpayers pay all this money for years and years and years for me to just be on death row? I admit what I did. She actually apologized to the family members, and grew very, very despondent. And so there were times where even when I would visit her, she would be very, very depressed. Because in the beginning, no, but after time being on there, yeah, she did get depressed. And all those interviews were not my making, they were hers, because she was just so scared prior to trial that people would see her as this monster, as this terrible person. And the more I got out there and talked about her, they might see her differently. So, she did, when I finally had the course with doing the interviews and told her I couldn't keep doing this, and I took no money. That's another thing for the interviews. Like I flew up to New York, Geraldo, who was very kind to me, Good Morning America, Current Affairs. I don't know, there were so many. I took no money except a check to my babysitter for, at that point, you're going back all these years, it was $7 an hour for him being there to take care of the horses and the dogs and the cats and everything. That was it. Just a check that I took at home from them, written out to our babysitter. So I
And
get,
and this is a big thing that people say about you is that I've seen, even on Facebook,
yes,
that you made a lot of money, and that's what it was all about. And there
no,
is a documentary where the guy shows the lawyer taking money for an interview.
yes, that was the creepy man. That was Nick Broomfield who lied. And we have from Lee, she apologized to us after the fact of Broomfield's film. He came to the farm. Steve was there and his girl Rita. It was good cop, bad cop. Rita came across as the sweetest woman, pretended to be a Christian. I was a Pollyanna. I believed her. We took them in the house. They were there maybe, I don't know, less than an hour. And they went outside, and my dad said, "Could I talk to you for a minute?" And so I went back in. He said, "You tell Steve not to go near them. They're both scoundrels. She's as phony as they come, and he is out. He's going to try to destroy you and destroy Steve. He just wants to make something sensational." And so that was it. I was a pimp selling a serial killer. That was, it was horrible, horrible, horrible.
So
So
how did he get the footage of you guys agreeing to a certain amount of money?
there, Lee, it was $10,000, and I got 3,000. Lee got 3,000, and this is how it all started. Her childhood friend, Dawn, she had MS, and her doctor bills were piling up. Oh, Carrie just interrupted. She has to leave us, so pray.
Marky said the
Okay.
Okay, the cows are running around her neighborhood, so say
sorry.
bye. Okay,
the nurse.
Okay, oh, and the nurse is here, but that's okay. Let me just. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Okay, just tell her that I'm doing a podcast, and if she could just be quiet for a minute.
Yeah, the nurse is.
Okay, where were we? Because this part was really important to me. Oh yeah, the money. So her childhood friend Dawn, they reconnected. I connected with Dawn. Lee asked me to buy her a Dake's Bible. I bought that for her, and it was awesome. Dawn and I became friends for quite a while, and she did have medical bills. And Lee said, "You've got to do this." She gets 4,000, you get 3,000, and Lee herself would get 3,000 in commissary. Steve got nothing. He did not get a penny. So that did happen. That absolutely happened, but not like they say. And we didn't on the thing that what's his face? Derek. I keep forgetting his name. Oh, he's so creepy. He put a piece of paper on showing that I demanded $25,000 and finally settled for 10. I didn't ask for anything. Lee was the one who came up with the $10,000, and Steve worked with that. Lee was always the boss, even with Steve, the lawyer. She just was so hot with the interviews. After Broomfield, I said, I am not doing one again. Not. I mean, it was so horrible. Steve himself, when it came out, had a heart attack over newborn son. He had a newborn son, beautiful family. And he had a heart attack and almost died because of the horrible allegations in it. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
Well, the reason I think that Derek, and this, we're talking about Agent Derek Baker,
Yeah.
the reason why I think he said that is because that's what was said in the documentary. That was what the guy said who was making the documentary. And that's probably where he got it from.
It probably was. It's been years
And
since I've seen it, but
I think that people are just they go online and they see this, and that's what they make a judgment call, and they believe what this guy said. What I saw when I saw because I did see that part of the documentary. I saw the second documentary that he made, and it was in that documentary as well. What I saw was, and what I thought was very odd to me, as soon as I saw it, and again, I wasn't very familiar with this whole thing, but what I saw was that he was saying that you were trying to get money for interviews. But here's what I saw that I didn't understand was, you're making a movie. You're making a movie about her called Selling a Serial Killer. You're making money on this movie. Why shouldn't the woman that you're making the movie about ask for money, since you're going to make money on the movie? Why is it bad and you're saying that you personally did it, but why is it bad that Aileen would ask for money to do interviews when everybody was trying to make money off of her and her story? Why is that wrong for her to do that? I didn't understand that.
It wasn't, I guess. Well, it would hurt the family members that she was making money. with, the deaths of their loved ones. And she really, the only thing that she and I would fight about, and it got down to it, especially after the Broomfield film, I don't want to do any more interviews. You're here now, you're at death row. We've been through the trials. I did everything I could, but I don't want to be flying to New York. I don't want to be talking. And she was talking a lot about corrupt police. And, she could do it. She was brilliant. She was brilliant. And she from jail could have written things. I mean, you've seen the artwork on the pieces where I put it, defending ourselves. But I don't know why she just didn't do it herself. But I finally refused to do interviews, and she did get mad when I wouldn't take money for them. Each time when I would come home, she would just be so angry, like, it's your time. I said, it's not right. I don't want to do it. God got me in this to help you, for you to become born again and to be your friend for as long as you're here. That's what my mission was. It had nothing to do with money. The
Yes.
$2,000 was really helpful because my dad, he paid the phone bills. Can you imagine the one who said he was going to disown me? Because the phone bills every month were $1,200 to $1,300. We had 2 mortgages on that farm. There was no way. So he really pitched in and helped Robert and I once he got on board, because he saw too much. He knew I was the shy little person he raised, and there I am flying to New York all by myself, talking on these shows. It was like, oh no, that is not my daughter. God is definitely in this. And once he saw that, there was nothing he wouldn't do. He even talked to Lee on the phone when she would call. She would call him Pops. So it was really awesome, from being disowned to actually talking to her and loving her the way that I did. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to let people know who are watching this that to not take money for going to big shows in New York, like were you on Montel Williams? What was the show called?
yes, I was on Montel Williams. I forget all of them. Montel Williams, Current Affair, Geraldo, who again was really nice to me. Good Morning America, that was amazing. That was live, and she was so kind to me, just so kind to me. So, yeah,
Yeah, but to not take any money from any of these interviews, I think it's an injustice to you.
no,
All these shows were making money
yeah, I didn't,
on you being on there. So
I,
I that's
I
my perspective, and I don't like that people are gonna say you did this for money when you refused money and you should have gotten money. That's my personal opinion. I know you did it for God, and even me, I do the stuff that I do for God, and I'm not getting any money from it.
well,
Uh,
see, so you should understand that.
yes, but I want people out there to see what I'm saying is that there's no way that someone can say that you were in it for the money,
No,
and because even if you did, even if you had gotten some money, that's okay, because why were they making money on you coming on their show, but then you weren't, you all of a sudden people are going to get on you for getting a little bit of that, all that money, because they're going to make tons and tons of money
oh,
on
I'm
you being
sure
on that show.
every
So what?
time that Nick Broomfield's film came out, it made like millions of dollars each time it would come out. And we always knew when it was coming out or had just been out, because I would get 10 to 12 hate things or death threats on my private message, where you can see it, but they don't see that you see it. Those, it was absolutely beyond what we went
Yeah.
through in the beginning. But one thing I didn't tell you, which this is really bad, and I want this to be known. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, she did this for money and yada yada yada. Well, before trial, just befriending her, that's all we did. The adoption wasn't through yet, nothing. All we were doing was defending her. one of the family members, I can do this without crying, I'm positive. We had, years prior when we were in Iowa, we had a little filly born. We called her Baby Spots, and the whole neighborhood up in Vermont was just thrilled with the birth. The girls' parents that were working with us at the horse farm, they made a huge, huge pink cake for everybody, pink balloons like it was a human baby born. And Baby Spots was the most beautiful, beautiful filly we'd ever seen. She grew up. We're now in Florida. Our beautiful stallion that I had gotten kicked by, again, not his fault, but he was bred to her. And we were so looking forward. I don't know if I can do it. I can do it. Okay, I left the farm for exactly 35 minutes to get bones for the dogs. And of course, we had a locked gate, and somebody climbed over the side and with a baseball bat broke Baby Spots' leg. So I came home. Of course, I got on the big tractor in the pasture next to where she was. I didn't know anything. The gate was still locked where I had come from. And the police were so forced, the sheriff's office, they were doing drive-bys to protect me because I was there all alone. Robert, again, traveling. So I got on the big tractor and mowing in the central pasture. And as I was coming up on the right was the one with the big tree and where Spots was. And I saw her standing, and there was a pool of blood under one of her legs, and it was hanging. I freaked out. I don't know how the bush hog was going. I don't know how I didn't kill myself accidentally. I got off the tractor. I put it in park, but I never shut off the bush hog and went flying up to the house to call my friend that worked at the feed store downtown. And she shut the store, immediately came. She lived like 3 blocks away. And she went into the pasture, and I tried to follow her, and she grabbed me and dragged me and said, no, come on, we're going to go to the house and call Dr. Dave. You're not going in there. Do not go in there. And she man wrestled me. So I couldn't even get into the pasture, and she called Dave. And sorry,
It's okay.
he came, and it was such a shock to everybody that the neighbors, Dave, the vet, they couldn't deal with it. So they all got together. I don't know how they did this. They used parts from a car, motor things, metal. They made a cast for that horse and we took her up to the University of Florida. And okay. Don, the one that had loaned me the two, this was before the big accident, who had loaned me the 2 workers, the owner of the feed mill. He drove our truck and our trailer. They got Baby Spots in. We called her Baby, but she still wasn't. She was 4 years old. And I sat in the middle. His worker had his arm around me, holding me, and Dave and his mom, who was like a second mother to me, they followed. So we got up there, and They got her. Well, Dave went in to let them know we were there on an emergency. They knew it wasn't going to work, but nobody could just put her down. It was like such a shock that this mare we put so much into to get this baby. So Dave went in, and Dawn and Shirley, my second mom, they stayed with me, and Shirley said, "Here, go in, give her carrots." And I said, "Shirley, she's going to make it, right?" And Shirley said, "No, not this time. Not this time. Just enjoy every second." And so they then took her out of the trailer, and we stayed outside. I can't believe I'm crying over something from 36 years ago, but it was horrible. So eventually they called Shirley and I in. We went into the conference room. Sorry.
It's okay.
And there were 3 vets there, and I was crying beyond. And they said they had to put her to sleep, and I said, "As long as you give me part of the shot so I can go to heaven, I can't take anymore. I just can't take anymore. I'm so tired." Because I'd done all these stupid interviews. I was exhausted at this point. And so I said, "Give me part of the shot and let me go to heaven with her." And so Shirley hugged me, and we walked down. I'll never forget this. The Lord used this for a vet that was having to put his old dog down that was like 20 years old. But I didn't know any of this at the point. He was there with my tears, and Shirley and I are walking down the steps. Spots was going to be brought out, put in the trailer, and euthanized in the trailer. And as we're halfway down the steps, I looked at the sky and I started screaming in tongues. Shirley and Dave were saved, but not Pentecostal, but she knew what it was. Screamed in tongues, "Are you ready?" And passed out cold. Passed out cold on the steps of the university large animal. Shirley held me in her arms. I was out cold for 10 minutes. And when I came to, the Holy Spirit did something in me those 10 minutes, because Shirley told her son Dave, "I don't know what happened here, except she was screaming in tongues. She passed out. She woke up, and look at her. No tears. Everything was okay." And I said, "Is she in the trailer? Can I say goodbye?" And they said, "Yes, of course." So I went in the trailer with Shirley. My mama had passed away just before the Lee thing, so that was still pretty raw. And I just told Spots to say hi to my mother and my grandma Maria, who I bear her name, and that was it. And the vet there saw it all, and he wrote me a note. Can you believe this? He got my name and everything from Dr. Dave. He said, "Thank you for helping me deal with the putting down of my dog that I had to face 2 days after seeing what happened to you. You leaned into God. I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes." He said, "And so I did the same thing, and I got through it. Thank you. And I'm so sorry for your pain. I'm praying for you." Can you imagine?
Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah. So we did call the police. We brought her home to bury. And the next morning, I had gone out really early, and I took her tail. I still have it, part of her tail, in a braid. And she was in the horse trailer, and there were no more tears. I was okay. I knew I would see her again. I did a 2-year study on animals in heaven from the Hebrew, so I'm positive. So I went in the trailer, I took part of her tail, and David, the vet, called the police, and the sheriff came out, and he said that his advice to me was not to report it, not make out a police report, and not talk about it to anybody. He said because there are other family members, and they might all get this horrible, horrible idea in their head. Just say nothing. Just say nothing. So that's what we did. But that, for me, was the most painful part of the entire time with Lee. I did not go to the execution. She didn't want me there. That was from day one. She said, I know I'm going to be executed for what I've done. I don't want you there. Because I just, hi. Hello.
Hi. It's not letting me clock in.
Okay, I'm just on a podcast, so just for a little bit
No
longer.
problem.
Okay, so the nurse is here now.
Okay.
You want to finish this? Can we do it? Because if it's not live, you're going to post it, so therefore we can't have other voices in there, right?
Well, I can cut it out. I can cut that out.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
See, I knew you could edit this, and that shows you how much I trust you. I would never do this because of what he did to me, Broomfield. They dubbed over our voices, both Steve and mine, where they were having him say insane things, and me, and I never said them. I mean, I never said those things. But
Yeah.
anything he could pull, he pulled. And the thing you don't know, nobody knows this, but it was like Lee was still alive and everything, and we were still seeing each other. She was so hot for me to sell the farm because she said it was just too much work. She saw how exhausted I was. And as it turned into more years, she wanted me to only come down Sunday, not Saturday and Sunday, because she thought it was just too much. So we did that, but she wanted us to sell the farm. And at that point, after spots, after everything, and then the trial, and it was too much. Being with Lee and taking full care of the farm, Robert's still traveling, but he wanted to think of retirement. He was approaching 60. He wanted to retire 67-ish. And the pastor and his wife, who thought I was most insane over the whole Lee thing, we showed up at their church and they saw that I wasn't this crazy person, that Robert and I were quite normal people. And so it was an Assembly of God church. We stayed there for a long time. And they were friends with missionaries in the Bahamas and Abaco. And they knew I loved kids. And they worked, this missionary couple, AG, they worked with children, troubled children. It was a children's camp. So they loved going over there, but they didn't have money, a pastor and his wife, to stay overnight or a week or a vacation. So they said, Arlene, Robert said he wants to live on the water when he retires. You have gotten over your fear of the ocean. You're now a water rat. You love scuba. You do all of that. Why don't I take you to Abaco, introduce you to the missionary couple, and see if when Robert retires, just retire there instead of in America. It was Abaco, Bahamas. It was where Miles Monroe, I don't know if you would remember him. He passed a number of years ago, but what an awesome pastor. He was in Nassau, but his groups would often come to the camp in Abaco. So long story short, I went with her and I fell in love. I totally fell in love with it. But Robert was still 3 years from retiring, and I had it at that point with the farm. So with Robert, he's never home and I'm doing it alone. So he went to look at 3 properties that Beverly and I had found, and he picked the one that I actually loved. We sold the farm and we bought that piece of property. Lee was ecstatic. until she realized it was not on the mainland. It was an outer key. Oh my goodness, she went berserk. There are pirates. You're going to get yourself killed. Oh my God, you're so naive. I've never met somebody. Your nickname is Pollyanna. I just don't get this. You're going to get yourself killed. Why couldn't you buy something on the mainland? Oh, she finally got used to it. And then we got a flat-bottomed, old. It was a riot. That too, I can send you pictures. It's the Sea of Abaco. I don't know if you know anything about water, but you need a V-shaped boat, right? And we bought, because it was real dirt cheap, we bought a flat bottom. I had never driven a boat in my life. Robert worked for Benny Hinn, and they were moving to California. So it was either move to California, which we hated, or move to the Bahamas. So Robert said he'd finish out his retirement in California and just visit like twice a month. That was the plan. So unbelievable. We get there, and I'm in the boat for the first time, and he saw how unrealistic leaving me there was. Never drove a boat. I mean, you're getting the raw, hard facts. It was insane. I was terrified. As long as I was in the water, I was fine. Being above the water in a boat, it brought back all my childhood fears. Oh, I almost drowned when I was 6 years old in the Atlantic Ocean in Jones Beach when I was 6. So terrified of the ocean. Then took up scuba to overcome that. But when I'm in a boat, we drove into the harbor. I had on a mask, a snorkel, and my flippers because I was positive Robert was going to sink the boat. Can you imagine? So he stopped the boat and he said, "You are not going to humiliate me. I'm not pulling into the harbor until you get rid of your snorkeling gear, including the flippers." He said, "No, we're just going to sit here." I'm like, "But Robert, I could drown." He went, "It's the harbor. There's no waves. Just take off your mask, take off your snorkel, and please take off your flippers. Don't humiliate me." So I did, and that's how we started. And he asked Benny for a leave of absence before he moved to California, and Benny declined and said no, they really, really needed him there. Robert built Benny's big truck. He was the engineer for it. He built it so that they didn't have to hire staff. They had the truck with all their own workers, and when he would do crusades, the truck was there. It was amazing. And this is funny. He also built for him the crash package, which was for overseas. So when he went to British Columbia a lot, and he was amazing. The places he went, crusades, all of it. I loved it. But and by the way, Karen sang with him a lot until her voice wasn't really great. I still think it is, but she wouldn't do it anymore. So she sang for him, and Robert worked for him for years. But it was true. When he was moving the whole ministry to California, he needed Robert, and he could not take a leave of absence. So there was Robert in the Bahamas with me. He taught me how to drive the boat. And as soon as, talk about God, I mean, Rodrigo, only the Lord. As soon as I knew how to drive that boat, how to park it without being called crash into the harbor, I mean, you can't imagine what we went through. Well, you're new. Robert got called by Sony, his old job, and he went back to work. And he stayed there until 9/11. Can you imagine?
Wow.
That is the story of how I escaped. When Nick Broomfield's film came out, it was like, I can't say that because people will misunderstand and go, I don't mean it, but just, yeah, you know how the angel appeared to Joseph and said, go to Egypt. Remember?
Yeah.
Well, it was the same kind of thing. It was like, wow, look at this opportunity. And Robert said, I only have 3 more years with Benny. I'll be retired. Are you sure you can live on an island? I'm like, yes, my thing. So anyway, that's what kept us, both of us, safe from the Broomfield film. And my best friend when it came out, contacted us and said, you maybe should stay there. This was the most horrible, despicable, the whole thing. He didn't have one truthful word in the film. Nothing. She said, don't come home anytime soon. I said, well, we're trying to go for residency, but they're very strict in the Bahamas as far as being able to work because we needed a job to be able to stay there. When Robert retired, we couldn't just retire on that. So we stayed there and we were building a rental. We sold part of, we had 2 acres. We sold part of it and we built a home. Robert built a beautiful home with me. I'll send you pictures of that too. I can't believe we did that. But that's when the film was out. And it was just unbelievable. It was, he rescued us. And Steve's wife got a hold of me. And so I knew what had happened to him and I felt awful. I just escaped everything. So
Yeah. Well, just for everybody listening, this what Arlene is sharing right now is touching on the fact that there's really 2 things that people say is that to come against you, and that's one, you wanted money, and the next one is that you wanted notoriety and that you like to be in the spotlight. But I
right.
think that these stories that you just told really show that it wasn't even about that for you, because when you did get the spotlight, something horrific happened, and that's that your horse that you loved had to be put down because somebody, uh, who knows what was going on in their head, somehow they thought that would get back at you for loving this person who they thought was despicable,
Yes.
and they did this horrible thing. And who would want that? Who would want that kind of attention? You were getting negative attention. Nobody would want that kind of attention. And so I think that builds the case that you didn't do it about for attention. And then when the movie came out that paints you in such a bad way, God had a way to get you out. He made a special place for you in a beautiful area in the Bahamas where you could go and be isolated from the backlash and all the negative stuff that came out from that movie. And I
Yeah.
want to add that I and I don't, obviously we just met, but I want to say that even when I googled your name, there wasn't many interviews that came up that you did, and I think that is a testament to you not doing this for views.
No, I didn't
For,
want to. That was the
yeah,
last thing I wanted to do.
yeah,
She
because
pushed, and then if you didn't do it, she would just come out with threats like, well, then don't bother coming next week or something like that. I mean, all of us have a bad side, and she did. And so it was just easier because she was confined. Steve felt sorry for her. I felt sorry for her. So, okay, we'll do it, And
yeah,
there came a time where, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I am not doing this anymore. I'm exhausted. And
yeah,
she saw it when I came to visit. I was just, I'm trying to do the farm full time and then her. And so that's when we cut the visitation down to just Sunday, not Saturday and Sunday. And it was a 4.5, almost 5 hour drive. And then you have to stay in a motel and go through all this stuff at the jail, not jail, prison. It was very, very exhausting.
yeah,
And
and
it was just a couple of years after I almost died from the lacerated liver and being in the hospital for 2 months. So
yeah,
that
exactly,
took me 4 years to get my strength back. So
yeah.
it was too much. It was just too much.
Yeah, and I just want people to realize that if you had wanted to only get the attention for yourself, you could have done it all these years. You
Right.
could have built your own, platform, and with your husband doing video work, you could have done your own thing that could have made you money, but you never did that.
No.
And what you did instead was go to the ramp and serve there and give hot dogs to kids there for the kids' ramp.
Oh,
You,
wait. And greeting. Greeting was my absolute favorite. And the last front porch that we did, or you won't believe this, of my husband. You have to know him. He's very quiet. He loves classical music, that kind of stuff. So we're greeting, and it was with the front porch, and he got the kids to do, okay, what's rap? It was a rap song. Welcome from porch friends, welcome, and he did a dance with it. And he got the students that were greeting with us at the door to do it. Can you imagine? It was so awesome. That was really, really fun. Wait, now, what, Robert? Wait, we're not done. Do you, how can we do?
Well, why don't we just wrap this up because it's been an hour and a half, and I don't want to take a lot more of your time.
Yeah, the nurse is here, and I really need to be talking to her. I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I just am so happy that you're willing to do this. When can we set it up again?
Let's just text back. Let's text each other and see when we can do a second part.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome. You'll tell people that there's a second part coming?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Oh, bless you, bless you, bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. What a crazy, at times wonderful, at times not so wonderful, but just such a God story.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that I talked to you. I'm glad that I got to meet you. And yeah, I'll wait for part two. I even have scriptures here that he gave me. I'll wait for all that for the second go. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we have to agree to disagree on one thing. I love Karen very much, but it's more than that. And when we do this next time, you'll see why. Because God literally used her. Jesus used her to save my life. So that's why there's this thing. And now that you and I are communicating, and we really like you and your family a lot. Oh my goodness, your daughter is precious. I want to tell you, I wasn't going to, but you need to know. So I'm not just this wacko person that is infatuated with a famous person or whatever. Jesus used her to save my life, and it's a very shameful story for me. But I want you to hear it, and I'm not embarrassed to let other people know. Okay?
Yes, and I want to let you know that I love Karen too.
I know.
And the reason why I am exposing these things is because I want her to repent for the things that she did that were incorrect. But that doesn't mean that I don't love her, and that doesn't mean that I didn't experience God when I went to the ramp.
Oh, I'm
I
sure
had
you did. I saw your testimony and stuff. But okay, so here's one thing. Just think about this, talk to your wife, and pray. Take a week off from saying anything on Facebook about her. You have this, and pray for her, intercede for her. Just in the Holy Ghost, just really, I know you're a man of prayer, just pray for her. And that'll help me a lot because whenever anybody says something mean about her, I start to cry just because of what happened to me. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I've never shared this ever.
Well, I want to let you know that I do pray for Karen, and the reason why I started even making videos is because I had an experience with the Lord where He gripped me, and He gave me this prophetic word, and I wept in my room for hours
Wow.
over the ramp and over Karen and over the leadership of the ramp because of all these things that God was showing me that were going on there. And so it's not that I hate her and I never pray for her. I absolutely pray for her, and I pray for Samuel Bentley, and I hope that they repent. But 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 God has called me also to expose the bad things that are happening there, and God wants to come and make it right.
Okay. I can accept that. Like I said, I like you a lot, and I just want to agree to disagree on that. Okay.
That's okay. Yes.
Okay. Because to Robert and I mean, Jesus really used her, and I prayed about this, and it's like, yes, you need to tell the truth. Nobody knows this, and it's shameful, but I stepped in, Jesus talking to me, the Holy Spirit, and used her. And you and I know that you need to go public with this. So I'm going to. And Robert and I absolutely love her. I've been an intercessor for her this past May, 5 years. And oh my goodness, I was a little hypocrite. I was sitting in our church that Robert was at for 13 years working, and hypocrite. I was a hypocrite. They're in announcements, and the Lord speaks into my heart and says, I want you to become one of her intercessors. Hadn't met her yet, nothing. This was in 20. And I'm like, no. Been there, done that one time. I mean, there's a big difference being an intercessor for one person and praying for people. There's a big difference, especially if you don't know them. And it was just, nope, sorry. And then, little hypocrite me, praise and worship, I get up and lift my hands in the air. I mean, what a hypocrite. So Robert and I are driving home, and I told him, he said, I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole. Your last intercessory thing, yes, it ended well, but it was the most difficult part of our marriage. So he said, this is between you and God. I went and made him lunch, and I went out to the little shed where we were living and prayed and prayed and prayed and said, look it.
Oh.
So many crazy things that I just want to know that it's from you. And so I walked back to the house where Robert was, and there was a feather. And I will show you that feather. And that was my sign, and I have been one of her intercessors since then. So it's a cool story, but I really like you. I like your family. Rhea, unbelievable. Was she really doing those verses by memory?
Yeah, she's got so much of the Bible memorized. It's incredible.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Well, they're calling me again. I just wanted to tell you about that. As long as we can agree to disagree, that's all I care about.
Yes, we're brothers and sisters in Christ,
Amen.
and it's okay. It's totally okay.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay. We'll be in touch for part 2.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye.
God bless. Thanks. Bye-bye.